open to leaving the US and living abroad for a long time. It was just kind of a matter of where I would go. So I went on several what I would call discovery trips, where I went to different places where I could potentially see myself living. Before one of my main discovery trips, where I went to Portugal, Morocco, and then South Africa, I bought a camera beforehand just to be able to record my travels and show people back home what was going on. And when I came to South Africa, it just absolutely stuck out to me as a place that I'd want to be for a really long time. But that sort of became a launch pad for me to change my career from what was web design into cinematography and making travel videos on YouTube. What's up, guys? My name is Frankie. I'm a cinematographer from Atlanta, Georgia, and I moved from the US to Cape Town, South Africa. What's up, guys? Welcome to my apartment in the garden suburb of Cape Town. All right, guys, so I'm actually staying in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath and gardens. So it's actually right next to the city center. So I'm in a part of the neighborhood that's a little more quiet and tucked away, but I'm right next to the action still. So this is a pretty spacious spot, actually. It's about 1,100 square feet, but it's all you really need for one person. So this is actually a gated community, so super secure, 24/7 security, and the place actually came furnished, which is super useful. I didn't have to bring all of my own stuff. So guys, this is a view I will never get tired of waking up to every morning. You got an amazing view of Table Mountain here, and you can actually see people going up on the cable car to the top of the mountain in the mornings. So a lot of times I'll get my day started with having like a nice tea or a coffee. A lot of times I work from home since I do video production, so I'll do some editing here at the table, and it's just a perfect way to get my day started. So I would say my main motivation for moving was just to get more out of life in general, whether it be from higher quality of life, more fulfilling social interactions, more adventure. All those things kind of made me go, okay, staying in the place that I'm in right now is not really the best move for me. So before I was actually able to move out of the country, I had moved to different states and explored different cities around the US. And I feel like I wanted something just a bit more different than what the US had to offer. One of those big things was the quality of life. So I come from a half immigrant family from Trinidad in the Caribbean. And so I had perspective early on that there's a lot of different places outside of the US that offer in some ways just a lot more than what the US can do for you. When I looked at things from an objective standpoint in the US, from the cost of living in the States to the medical system in the States, I kind of thought that a lot of these things aren't necessarily set up for you to win, especially when it comes to food and agriculture and the housing situation in the US. There's a lot of places that honestly just offer better options overall. So quality of life, cost of living was one thing, but then another aspect, which isn't exactly something you can measure, was just the aspect of adventure that you could get from traveling or moving abroad. I lived in several different states and I'd done tons of road trips in the US before, and I was just at a point where I was no longer excited about, a road trip to Florida, and I just wanted something more different than that. So as for the living room and kitchen area, it's kind of an open concept. So I've got my living area over here, my couch, TV, home theater system, all of that. And I've got my kitchen in this area. So I actually like to use all of this as my workspace. I actually have a production company called Atlas Motion Works. So I create commercials for hotels, tourism boards, and I do documentary work as well. So I like to have all my camera stuff accessible, where I can build it out depending on whatever job I have that day, and just kind of keep things organized that way. So I'll take you through to my kitchen area. Again, it came fully furnished, so it came with everything I needed. So it was pretty plug and play. All I had to do was buy a few things to make the home feel like mine, but other than that, it was ready to go. So my first impressions of South Africa, when I first got here, it was more just amazement. It was amazement, but also a little bit of disappointment. It was like, wow, all of the media in the US about South Africa has been just lies. Like, it's not true. So I think for a lot of people that move here, the thing that they point to is the nature and the beauty of the city and the things that you can do here. And I love all of those things. But for me, the thing that keeps me here most is the people here and the friendliness of everybody and how welcoming they are. Like I might be walking down the street or hopping an Uber and someone I'm talking to learns where I'm from and they're like, welcome home, like you're home now. And that is not a type of welcome I've ever received in the US in my entire life of living there. And when I hear things like that, it's just like another reminder that I'm in the right place and I made the right decision by making this move. Even though I'm from the US and lived there almost my whole life, welcome home is not something that I ever heard. And I didn't feel that way there. I think living in South Africa has changed my outlook on life a lot. I've seen more extreme highs and more extreme lows of what life can be like. And it's kind of granted me a lot more gratitude in my daily life. All right, so moving on to the bathroom, it's actually split into two separate parts. So the guest bathroom side of things is in the hallway here, and then the other half of it, which is the shower and bathtub, is connected to my room. All right, so my bedroom is pretty sizable, and it came with a queen size bed and tons of closet space here, as well as a courtyard where you're able to hang and dry your clothes. So that is right over in this area. All right, guys, so welcome to the courtyard. This is actually connected to my bedroom, and this is a nice big area that you can actually use for hanging and drying your clothes. For a lot of you in the US, I know we're not used to doing that. We usually use a washer and dryer for everything, and I actually do have a washer and dryer that came with the unit, but since moving here, I found it a lot easier to just hang and dry your clothes. It's not an inconvenience at all. All right, so this is the portion of my bathroom that actually connects to my room. You've got the shower bathtub combo here. I've got my sink and things here, and my unit actually came with a washer dryer combo. So you can use that if you need to, but like I said, most people just hang their clothes to dry on the line and it's not an issue at all. So when it comes to my monthly expenses, my apartment is my biggest expense. And when I first moved in here, it was about 17,000 Rand a month, which was about 850 US dollars. And now it's about 19,000 Rand a month, which is closer to 1,000 US dollars. So my apartment is in the Gardens suburb of Cape Town, and it's about 1,200 square feet, and it's on the top floor of the complex. So when it comes to food in Cape Town, there's a lot of really great options, and actually a lot of the content that I do is about food and culture. So I do love eating out in the city. They have really good food, so I probably spend around $300 to $400 a month on food. So one of the things South Africa and traveling in general actually inspired me to do was to start a food competition series where I have different chefs represent their home countries, and they have a cook-off for a large dinner party to kind of find what country has the best food. That series is called The Flavor Games, and I actually put it on as a YouTube series, and it's also a live event series that I do here in Cape Town. So as for transportation, I'm lucky enough to live in a really walkable neighborhood, so I actually don't need to drive to the grocery store, barbershop, movie theater, anything like that. But if I do want to get around to go to the beach or a spot that's a little bit further outside of the city, then I'll just Uber. The average Uber trip will be about 40 Rand to about 80 Rand, which is about 2 to 4 US dollars. I would say things here are generally a lot more affordable than in the US when it comes to the main things like housing, food, and transportation. So for me, a typical day can be completely different depending on my work or what I have going on that day. So sometimes I may be traveling to a different city or a different country to make videos. Or if it's a day where I'm not traveling and I can have more structure, I'll usually wake up around 8, I'll go to the gym, and more than likely I'll be working on a video that day, whether it's for a client or for my YouTube channel. So after I moved out of web design and into cinematography, I actually started my own production company where I create cinematic videos for brands and businesses, and that's the majority of my income today. So sometimes I'll be creating a commercial for a hotel or a food market or a product-based brand. So the way I earn money now is by making cinematic videos for businesses and brands, and also by making videos about my life and travel on YouTube. So when it comes to finances, making a move like this has actually freed up a ton of money to do more of the things that I like, to be able to save more money. But on a personal level, it's challenged me more because I've taken the time to make videos about moving abroad, traveling, so I think there's a bit more responsibility there. When it comes to business, I think some people get confused and they look only to places like the US or Europe because those are financial hubs of the world. But Africa has a ton to offer in terms of business and opportunity. And I think just getting a little bit creative goes a really long way here. I can definitely say without traveling or moving here, I would have never come up with the idea for the food competition series. I probably would have never moved into cinematography because honestly, I just didn't feel inspired enough to go that route when I was in the US. But traveling kind of gave me that opportunity to explore more of myself, learn more about people, and realize that this is something that I wanted to capture and show other people. I wouldn't say I feel like a different person since the move, but I think moving or traveling can help you understand more about yourself, discover new sides of yourself. And so, yeah, maybe you do feel a bit different, but I don't think it just changes you just by moving. I think that's work that has to, happen within you. One of the things that gives me peace here that I didn't have before is the versatility that this city offers. So I'm here in the city right now, but I could go outside and in 10, 15 minutes, I could be in nature, or I could go to the other side of town and connect with people that I haven't met before and just learn about completely different cultures. So I think being able to give yourself a variety of experiences just whenever you want is like an invaluable thing. Like with anything else, you may have to put yourself out there a bit. Not every opportunity just comes, straight to your doorstep. But if you're just doing the things that you already love and enjoy, even if you join a club or a sport or something, you will probably meet the people that you're meant to meet. What surprised me most about the people here was how friendly, not only that, but how relatable they are too. Thinking that because you're on the opposite side of the world that everything's gonna be completely different isn't always the case. I mean, the people here are really kind of tuned into American culture, and so they watch and listen to a lot of the same things that, Americans watch and listen to. So I think that's another thing that made me feel more at home was that, the fact that I could, joke around and just have fun with people and they would, understand what I'm saying, not only because we both speak English, but because we kind of come from a similar cultural background. The pace of life here, particularly in Cape Town, is much slower than that of a big US city. And that's something that I absolutely love because in the US, it's really easy to get caught up in that rat race, and it's really draining, I think, for a lot of people. And so they're kind of looking for an out from that. And places like this are exactly the opposite of that. People take their time, people care, I think, a bit more about quality rather than quantity. And it's really refreshing to see, honestly. So I've actually thought about this one a lot. By far the biggest money mistake I ever made was not leaving the US earlier. When I think about how much more money I spent on education in the US, how much more money I spent on housing, food, medical, everything in the US, yeah, it's definitely the biggest money mistake I've made. If I'd realized beforehand that so many other places have a higher standard of living and a higher quality of life, I probably would have left much earlier. But better late than never, I say.
Hey Web Nation family, for years we've been sharing stories of diasporans who have relocated from the diaspora and currently living here on the continent of Africa. You guys have been enjoying the episode, saying in the comment section that you want this to be you one day. Why don't we just bring that time to now? We are inviting you to come on a trip with us to South Africa, November 2026. This is going to be an 11-day experience of revisiting cities like Cape Town, Johannesburg. We're having experiences like going to the wine lands and actually experiencing South Africa, the people, the food. This is not just a vacation. This is a very well detailed experience that gives you the proper insight on people interested in relocating. The beautiful part about this is we've made it easy for you to come on this trip with us. By you just making the deposit, you get to pay the rest in installment and get yourself on a trip with us to South Africa. Scan the QR code, secure a spot, and see you in South Africa. Now guys, let's get back into the video.
Do I feel wealthier now than I did before? So I do still run my web design agency passively. So I've got that, and in addition to that, I make cinematic videos for brands and businesses, and I also make videos on YouTube. So with those three incomes combined, I do make more now than I did before. But even if that wasn't the case, I would still stay here and I would still feel like I made the right decision because I've got a better quality of life now, which is ultimately what I think most people are looking for, rather than just a number amount that they want to hit. Moving here has also kind of helped me stay in tune with the things that matter most, like community, time freedom, health, all those sorts of things. So rich today for me doesn't necessarily correlate so much with money. It's pretty simple for me. It's, do you feel fulfilled? Can you do what you want? Are you healthy? That's rich. So I did make a lot of sacrifices coming here, but honestly, a lot of those sacrifices that I had to make, I was completely open to and I was ready for, like leaving all of my old things behind. I was ready for that because I wanted to be able to bring new things in. And part of starting a new life is having new things around you, new people around you, new experiences. So I was okay with that, and I was open to that. One of the things I had to gain emotionally, which I wasn't so prepared for, is patience. Some things take a lot more time than you think they might take. Some things don't work out the first time that you try them, but that's okay. When you're doing something like this, you're forcing growth as a person pretty much. So some things aren't gonna go exactly according to plan, but they can go even better than you even expected. I think I would probably just kind of reassure myself, you're making the right decision. If you feel like you need to move this bad, you are making the right decision. Where do I see myself in 5 years? For me, doing exactly what I'm doing now. Living here, still traveling and learning about other cultures, but making more videos, exploring more, but definitely still living here. So the advice that I would give to other people wanting to make this leap is to be prepared, but don't over-prepare. By that I mean, do your research on where you think you might want to go, visit there, explore the culture, but don't do so much studying and researching that you don't actually do the thing. I think that's like the biggest difference between people that have success with this and people that don't. Even through my videos that I make, I'll have people message me and some of them say, hey, I'm thinking about moving to Cape Town, I think I'm gonna do it. And they might message me for 2 years and I still haven't seen them. And others say, hey, I'm gonna make that move to Cape Town. And then I actually run into them in real life and they're like, yeah, I watched some of your videos and some other videos and things like that. And yeah, I just decided to make the move and it was the best decision I ever made.